Scholar Opportunity Nexus offers programming tutorials. In our Python programming, we make sure that you understand the concepts, not just memorize syntax. Our tutors will take you through structured courses, taking you from your first line of code to building complex algorithms. If you are planning to work on your next big project or just preparing for a course, Sun is here to take you through it all.
And every one of us is concerned with a particular thing in life, that is security. In as much as we are dealing with machines and all these technologies around us, one thing that we are much concerned is how our data is secured, or how do we put a block or a check around access to our an information or our data, right? Yes, so we need to actually put a checking point on access to a particular information, or we need to learn how to make sure that before someone moves from one state to the next, right, we check the validity of that person or the validity of what the person is using. We do that every day, right? Where we compare, we check, oh, is it a day or are we in the night? If you want to greet someone, automatically, if you want to greet someone, you are going to check your time and see if you're in the morning so that you can respond or you can give the reach the correct greet, right? So if it's in the morning, it's a good morning, afternoon, it's a good afternoon. Every time you are checking the time. So always there is a check, right? So in programming language, you need to be able to have that check, to be able to do a check and see if something is true, something is false, right? So that's what we are going to compare something to another one. So that's what we are coming to do in this session in Python, doing comparison operators, right? We are coming to compare the operators that are involved in making comparison in Python is what we are concerned with, right? So we have items, and you compare the items and see if they are the same, if they are not the same, if it is equal to, and if it's not equal to, and all that. Okay, so we are going to start with examples, and in our examples, right, we are going to use certain variables. Now, I hope that by this time we all understand what variables are and we use them in previous sessions, and you yourself you have tested them. Okay, so now I'm going to start with numbers first. So I'll say my number one is equal to, what number comes to your head? Is it 19? Uh, let me go to my number two is equal to 5. Okay, so I have two numbers here. Now, the thing is, these are containers that contain numbers, but I don't know. Let's assume that I don't know what they contain. They are just containing my number one and my number two. I want to see if these two containers contain the same number, if the numbers are the same, right? So we want to see if this one is equal to this. Number one is equal to this. And then when we are done, we need to see whether it's true or false. Right. So remember when we did data types, we say the true or false is a type of data types that we call the Boolean data types. So this time, all these responses that Python will be giving us will be true or false when we are comparing. Something is compared. Is it true? If it is false, then you deny the access. If it is true, then you give access to that particular information or that particular line of code. So here we are just simply going to see how Python responds to the true or false and do the comparison for us. So we have number one and number two. We want to compare if they are the same. Like C19 and 5, we know that that's it. But then we may not know. Let's assume that we don't know what they contain, but we need to check if they are the same or not. To check whether they are the same, we need to bring a comparison operator between them. Here, it's not arithmetic operator where we are adding or subtracting, but we need to compare, right? We need to compare if it is equal to. So I will say, oh, my number, I wrote n. I started with n, right? Now let me change that series. So my number one, my number two. I gave this space between because I want to tell you something. You see, when we're doing the equal to sign, when we are assigning or when we are putting something inside the container, like my number one is equal to 19. So when we are doing my number one equals to, if you're using equal to 19, what you are doing is that that container, that variable, you are trying to put 19 inside. But in this case, we want to compare if my number one is equal to number two, right? If we just use the single equal to thing, what will happen is that it's as if we are now taking the number one variable and putting the number two inside. Anytime you are using the equal to sign, the single equal to sign, meaning you are putting something inside a variable, you are assigning something to another. But in this case, that's not what we want to do. We want to compare. So if you are going to compare and you are going to use equal to sign, you need to put a particular difference between the normal equal to sign that Python uses to assign something to another variable to actually augmenting it to something different. What do we use that? We use a double equal to sign. So you double the equal to signs so that Python will not be assigning. Python will rather compare, right? You are telling Python to now compare instead of assigning a particular item to a variable. Right? That's what we have currently. So currently, we are just comparing the two. So if I run this, what do we have? We still have nothing between the two, right? So nothing is printed for us. But what do we need to do if we want to see what Python is doing there? Because Python is not returning any error. So definitely something should be correct there. We need to see something, right? We need to see whether it's true. Is whether Python is telling us that it's true or Python is telling us that it's false. To do that, in order to see it, we need to print. So I'm still going to put this inside the print function. So I'm surrounding that print. Sorry. Yes. So now put that in print and I'm going to run it. Let's see what Python gives us. Ah, you see that Python says false. So number one is equal to number two is false because 19 is not equal to 5. Right? Now let me change the number 2 to 19 as well. Let's see if Python will tell us true. Okay. Remember, when we are comparing, use double equal to sign. Yes, Python says that it is true. So basically, this is what you do to compare that equality. Something is equal to this, something is equal to that. Now, that's equality. What if not equal to? What if it is not equal to? That's what we want to see. That Python is saying, we are saying number one is not equal to number two. Number one is not equal to number two. See, when you are using the double equal to sign, um, before that, let me give you what we use that we used to do not equal to. So you use the exclamation mark attached to the equal to sign. There's no space between the two. There shouldn't be space between the exclamation mark and the equal to. So it's just like how we normally write. If we are writing, we said x is not equal to 2. We say x, so we do equal to and we put a bar or a trace inside the equal to sign to make it like a bar, right? Then we write the other one like number is or x is not equal to 2. So we do equal to, then we put a bar between. But we can't do that in Python. So we need to make sure that to represent that we do exclamation mark equals to. So it's as if you are doing the bar. If you don't see it that way too, you can see that the equal to sign is open, comparing this side to this side. But if you want to say not equal to, you put a barrier to the equal to sign in front of it, right? So that this one is not equal to entering to the second one. That's how you can also see it. Don't put the equal to sign behind. So let me go and put it here. So there's an error, right? But then you need to make sure that if you are doing not equal to, you bring the quotation mark. Remember, if you just do only one equal to, you're assigning this to this. It's like you're putting whatever is coming to what you have written first. But if you are saying not equal to, put the equal to sign there and put a policeman in front of it. The policeman is your exclamation mark. And there shouldn't be space, right? They should be closed. Okay, so that's not equal to. So we are saying my number one is not equal to number two. So how do we do that? Let's compare. Let's see if what Python is telling us. False. Yes, we are having number one to be 19. We are saying number two is what 19 as well. Then we are saying Python that number one is not equal to number two. Python will say it's false. That thing is false, right? But then let's check the values. Let me just put 0 here. and see 190 and 19. That's true. Number one is not equal to number two. It makes sense. It makes sense now, right? So Python, you say that it's not true. Yes, that's kind of the equal to sign. Fine. That's nice. Um, that's equal to and not equal to, equal to and not equal to. What if you want to check if something is greater or less? Those things. Okay, so we are going to that one now. Okay, in that one, we said, let's say number 19, you just use your greater than the arrow on your listen, shift, then your arrow, then you get your my number one is greater than number two. So let's see, number one is greater than number two. It should be true, right? Because 190 is greater than number. What do we have? Yeah, it's true. It's true. But then let me change the symbol less than and run it. False, right? Number one is not equal to, it's not less than number two. Okay. So now this is these are just, that's how to get it less than and equal to, greater than, less than, or less than and greater than, right? But then we can also do less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, right? So here is less than, right? Number one is less than my number two. I want to read my number one. We want to check if my number one is less than or equal to my number two. Less than or equal to. So you have to make sure less than or equal to. So less than should come before the equal to. So you just add the equal to sign. So the name, right, should tell you which one comes first, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So the arrows, always the equal to sign comes last in all cases. The equal to sign comes last. Okay. So if we do this, is it less than or equal to? Yeah, it's false because my number one is 190. It's not less than or equal to my number two. But we can change the comparison and do this. Greater than or equal to. Always the equal to sign comes last, right? In the comparison, if equal to sign is involved. And this time it's true, right? So greater than or equal to. Always the equal to sign comes last. Equal to sign comes last. If it's not equal to sign comes last. If you are saying equal to, you see that there's an first equal to sign and this compulsory equal to sign that comes second. This composite equal to sign comes second, but the first one is the one that's introducing the comparison. But if you're using only one equal to sign, you are not even comparing, you are assigning, or you are putting something in a particular variable. So yes, comparison operator. These are the basic ones. We'll continue and see uh, other ones that involve and, or, this and that, right? Yes. So you can practice with all these examples, check your equal to, less than, and all that. Then we just move on because we are much concerned with solving problems with what we are learning currently. Let's add to our knowledge in the next session. See you there.